Hello there, and welcome to the English of Business. Today we're going to talk about presentation skills with a particular focus on how to maintain audience interest throughout the whole presentation. But first of all, let's take a look at what the problem is. Now, this is a typical uninteresting presentation audience attention level chart. At the beginning of the presentation, the attention level is quite high, and at the end of the presentation, the attention level is also quite high, but you can see how it dips in the middle. Now, we don't like that. What we really want to do is something that looks like this. Now here we are maintaining the attention level of the audience throughout the presentation. It's a little bit wavy, but it's still quite high from all the way from the beginning to the end of the presentation. So how do we do that? So let's look at what the solution to that is. Now on screen at the moment there's a little yellow circle, and the question is, what's happening here? What happens at the end of the presentation to wake everyone up or to grab their attention? Well, there are some key sentences that the presenter might use. For example, in conclusion or in summary, or I'd like to finish my presentation by saying. Now, these are kind of key expressions because what they do, they wake the audience up in an uninteresting presentation, and everyone thinks, great, it's coffee time. So they're listening. So of course that's one way of maintaining the attention level of the audience, but we want to do that throughout the presentation, all the way from the beginning to the end. So let's see how we can do that. So how can we maintain audience attention throughout the presentation? Well, one way is to ask questions to the audience. Another way is to give plenty of examples during your presentation. A third way is to make comparisons. A fourth way is to give reasons. And a really important way is the fifth way, which is to explain the significance and the benefits of your information. And finally, perhaps the number one way is to use great transitions. So let's look at each of these step by step, starting with asking questions. So on screen now, we can see a few questions you can ask. So why is this a good sales feature? Can everyone understand the benefits? Have you ever considered running for president? What are the 3 characteristics of great leaders? Who do you consider to be the greatest speaker in history? And do you know how much waste is generated each year in Japan? 50 million tons. Do you know how much space that is? 150 baseball stadiums. Where does it all go? Now, those are questions, the kind of questions you can ask to the audience. And in some cases you want an answer, but in other cases you don't want an answer. You just want the audience to think. Okay, next, let's look at giving examples. Here's one, an example of an example. There will be a large demand, for example, from the banking and insurance business sectors and small to medium enterprises, or SMEs. The memory capacity is 5 terabytes. That's enough to store 2,500 Hollywood blockbusters, which should be more than enough to meet your needs. A good example of this is, or another way of looking at this is to consider this example application. Again, so what we're saying here is give examples so that the audience can better understand your information and they can connect to it better. It's very similar with making comparisons, which is the next method. Here's one. The new range is about 20% faster than our competitors' machines. The new injection system has a maximum pressure of 250 psi. That's the weight of 25 elephants standing on your thumb. Okay, so that's a couple of ways of giving comparisons. The next method of maintaining audience interest is to give reasons, like this. The new range all require high-quality A4 plain paper for printing. There are 3 main reasons for this: first, second, and third. Here's another example. I would like to explain why. The reasons for this are. Okay, so giving reasons is a really important part of your presentation, and it's a really important way to maintain audience interest. Here's the next one, explaining significance and benefits. The main benefit of this new range is the excellent cost performance. This means that customers will save time and money. You will save on toner charges and work more productively, especially when working with multiple network printers. Here's another example. This means that. This is important because, okay, so here's the last one, using transitions. A transition is moving from one part of the presentation to the next part of the presentation. Now, some people call that signposting, others call it transitions. Whatever you want to call it, let's look at some examples. Here we go. Now I'd like to explain. This will help you to understand. My next key point is, this is especially important if you are. In summary, the most significant findings were. In summary, the most important factors are. Before moving on to my next point, I'd just like to summarize that. Aha! Do you recognize some keywords there? Summary. Now we call these mini summaries because when someone says the word summary, when the presenter says summarize, the audience wakes up. Remember, the audience thinks, it's coffee time. So you can use these mini summary ideas during your presentation. It's a great way to maintain that attention at a high level. All right, well, speaking of coffee, it's probably time to wrap up this video now. I'm off to have a nice cup of coffee myself. I hope you are too. And we'll see you in the next video on the English of Business. Thank you.